That mower sitting in your shed right now with 4,000 hours on it and not one major repair. You already know what it's telling you. You were right the whole time. Meanwhile, a guy 2 farms over just handed a dealer $9,000 for a brand new zero turn with a transaxle sealed shut at the factory. No drain plug, no way to ever change the fluid. He doesn't know it yet, standing there signing the paperwork, but he's shopping again in 5 years. 10 machines exist right now, in 2026, with real owners running them past 4, 5, even 6,000 hours without the drivetrain ever coming apart underneath them. I'm walking you through exactly which ones and exactly what's bolted inside each one. Stick around, because the machine sitting right in the middle of this list is the reason half the lawn care industry won't run anything else. Here's what nobody at the big box store is going to walk you through. Hydro Gear builds a whole family of integrated transaxles, and where your machine sits in that family decides whether you're mowing for 20 years or shopping again before your kid finishes high school. The bottom of the pile is the EZT, also stamped ZT 2200. The transaxle bolted under most mowers on a Lowe's or Home Depot lot. It's the cheapest one to build, and most of what's already sitting out in fields was sealed shut straight from the factory. No drain plug, no filter. Run it till it's done. Step up to a ZT 2800, and now you've got a real drain plug and a spin-on filter, same as changing oil in your pickup. Keep climbing through the ZT 3100, the ZT 3400, all the way to the commercial ZT 5400, and you're looking at bigger pumps, bigger motors, planetary gear reduction, and a cooling fan doing the work all day in July heat. Some machines skip hydro gear entirely and run Parker wheel motors instead, which is its own kind of overbuilt commercial hardware. Same story on the deck. 7-gauge fabricated steel welded into one continuous piece is a completely different animal than a stamped 10-gauge deck bolted together at the corners. One flexes under a rock strike and keeps cutting. The other cracks at the weld within 3 seasons. And the engine matters just as much. With Kawasaki's FX series, Kohler's Command Pro, and Briggs's Vanguard all showing up across this list, Vanguard's oil guard system in particular, stretching oil, changes from 100 hours out to 500. Now, why some familiar green machines didn't make the cut. Big box zero turns are almost always specified down from the same manufacturer's actual dealer lineup. Same badge, completely different machine underneath. And John Deere's ZTRA commercial line isn't here either, because in January of 2025, Kawasaki recalled about 39,000 of those units after a faulty voltage regulator let engines overheat, with 5 documented fires and 0 injuries before the fix went out. With that groundwork laid, here's exactly which 10 machines earn their keep. Number 10, the Hustler Super Z, built out of El Dorado, Kansas. Hustler is the outfit that actually invented the zero-turn mower back in 1964, before anybody in the industry even had a name for the category yet. Yeah, Hustler engines got swept into last summer's bigger 7 brand Kawasaki recall too, right alongside Bad Boy, Bobcat, Cub Cadet, Kubota, and John Deere. About 68,500 engines total. Chalk that one up to Kawasaki, the engine supplier, not to Hustler's mower design. Back in 2019, the company also issued a small recall on some models over a wire tie that could chafe a fuel line, about 5,400 units. 0 incidents reported before the fix shipped. The Super Z itself runs commercial Parker and hydro gear units under a fabricated deck, and guys running these on daily landscaping routes talk about 3,000 and 4,000 hours before the drivetrain even needs a look. Number 9. Walker Mowers, built out of Fort Collins, Colorado. Still run by the Walker brothers themselves, the same family that built the very first one back in 1980. It's a smaller company on purpose, roughly 13 models shipped to about 30 countries. Walker builds compact front-mount mowers that landscapers keep around for years because the cut quality and grass collection system don't quit on them. Owners on the forums have had the exact same machine for 15 or 20 seasons and never once seriously thought about replacing it. Number 8. The Wright Stander out of Frederick, Maryland. Bill Wright invented the entire stand-on category back in 1997, and his son runs the company today with more than 50 patents between them. The newest models carry a 1,000-hour hydraulic service interval and that same 500-hour oil guard system. Dealers who service these day in and day out cite 2,000 plus hours out of a well-maintained Stander before anything major needs attention. Wright even built a fully autonomous version, running on the same drive-by-wire hardware the manual machines already use. Number 7, the Kubota Z700. Kubota is the odd brand out on this whole list because it's not American at all. It's Japanese, publicly traded on the Tokyo Exchange, no private equity firm anywhere near it. The Z700 runs Parker's torque-packed transmission, which Kubota calls the most power-dense transmission available anywhere for commercial turf work. That's Kubota's own claim off the spec sheet, not an independent lab test, but the 7-gauge deck sitting underneath it, 6 inches deep, backs up the pitch either way. That same Kawasaki recall touched some Z700 engines too, and Kubota handled it exactly the same way everyone else did, a straight recall through dealers. Starting price on these was right around $7,799 on a recent dealer promotion, so verify that number before you drive out anywhere. Kubota backs the commercial 700 with 2 full years, unlimited hours, no cap on how hard you run it. There's a smaller Z400 in the lineup too, running a lighter ZT3 400 transaxle and a 10-gauge deck for the guy who wants Kubota reliability without the full commercial price tag. Number 6, the Toro Z Master 6000 and 7000 series. Toro's a public company, the same one that owns Exmark, but the Z Master earns its spot here on engineering, not brand loyalty. The Turbo Force deck is 7-gauge steel that Toro says is 33% thicker and 32% higher in yield strength than the standard 10-gauge deck most of the industry still runs. That's Toro's own number, not mine. But the cast iron spindle housings underneath are real cast steel, not stamped tin, trying to pass itself off as something heavier. Kawasaki, Kohler, or Vanguard engines, your choice at the dealer, all the way up to 38 horsepower depending on the deck size. Toro also builds in what they call My Ride suspension on these models, an isolation-mounted operator platform, so you're not the one absorbing every rock and every rut through your own spine after 8 hours in the seat. Number 5, and this is the one, the Scag Turf Tiger 2, built by Metalcraft of Mayville, out of Mayville, Wisconsin. Family owned since 1986, the Galton family runs the company today, and Scag manufactures its own components instead of buying parts off somebody else's shelf and slapping a badge on top. Dual 16 cubic inch hydro gear pumps feed 18 cubic inch Parker wheel motors, and the deck itself is driven off a solid drive shaft instead of one long drive belt, so there's simply less to wear out. The deck runs cast iron spindle housings on tapered roller bearings with a grease fitting and a relief valve mounted right on top where a technician can actually reach it. Now, here's what the lawn care forums say, and weigh it accordingly, because this is forum talk, not a controlled lab study. But you'll find guys running 21-year-old turf tigers with around 1,400 hours still cutting grass every week. You'll find machines sitting in the same shop running 4,000 and nearly 5,000 hours apiece. One tech put it about as plain as you can put it. He's seen Skags roll in with 6,000 hours on the meter, still running good. A new Turf Tiger 2 runs somewhere north of $19,000, depending on your dealer and engine choice, so treat that as a placeholder and go get a real quote. Number 4, the Gravely ProTurn, built out of Brillion, Wisconsin. Ariens Company owns Gravely, and the Ariens family has run that whole operation since 1933. Bought Gravely outright in 1982, and never let it go. The ProTurn line runs hydro gear all the way up through the ZT 3400 and ZT 5400 on the commercial models, fabricated decks throughout, Kawasaki or Vanguard power, depending on how you spec the build. Gravely did get caught in a separate Kawasaki fuel tube recall In 2024, 8 fire reports and 0 injuries recorded before the fix shipped. Kawasaki's fuel tube failing on the assembly line, not Gravely's mower design. And because Ariens is still calling its own shots as a private family-run company, Gravely's been able to keep quietly expanding instead of getting sold off in pieces to a holding company. Number 3, the Exmark Laser Z in both S-Series and X-Series trim. Exmark belongs to Toro too, same corporate parent as the Z Master we already covered, but the engineering underneath this one is genuinely its own animal. Exmark builds an exclusive unitized pump and wheel motor system through Parker, no external hydraulic hoses to blow out on a fence post, an integrated cooling fan built right into the unit, and a spin-on filter you can actually swap out in the field in about 10 minutes flat. The ultracut decks run 10-gauge steel on top, with 7-gauge reinforcement welded in right where the spindles mount, exactly the spot where a cheaper deck cracks first. Kawasaki FX engines across the entire lineup, and an E-Series model with the smaller FX 730 engine and a 52-inch deck has been listed by dealers around $11,199. Treat that as a placeholder and get a current quote. Number 2, the Ferris IS 3200Z, out of the old Briggs & Stratton family of brands. Briggs & Stratton filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy back in July of 2020, and KPS Capital Partners bought up the company's assets that September for around $550 million. So yes, Ferris sits under a private equity owner now. But KPS kept the engineering that actually makes Ferris worth buying: the patented 4-corner independent suspension, coilover shocks mounted on every wheel, dual hydro gear ZT 5400 transaxles with 9-inch cooling fans running under a fully fabricated deck. Ferris had its own Kawasaki recall in 2023 too, a fuel pump cover issue shared with about 33,000 engines between Ferris and Scag, 1 small fire, 0 injuries before the fix went out. And number 1, Grasshopper, out of Moundridge, Kansas. This is the company that built the first commercially manufactured zero-turn mower in recorded history, back in 1969. First dual swing out-control levers in the industry. First diesel-powered zero-turn anywhere, 1983. 55 years running now, still owned outright by Mortgage Manufacturing, still family, still 0 outside investors. Grasshopper runs its own exclusive T-drive hydrostatic transmission that nobody else in the industry builds, and owners send in photographic proof of their hour meters just to get into the company's own built-to-last club. That machine already sitting in your own shed, the one that's outlasted 3 different neighbors' big box specials, that was never dumb luck on your part. You bought the right thing, or somebody who knew better bought it for you. None of these 10 are cheap, and I'm not going to tell you. A $19,000 Turf Tiger is the right call for a quarter-acre lawn and a Saturday afternoon. It isn't. But if you mow for a living, or you buy one machine on purpose and run it into the ground, this is the exact list you shop from. Hit subscribe. More of these coming every week.